here we are. We've survived.
We don't have any hockey? What is this, Jimmy? Like, we don't have any playoffs? I have to watch baseball, Wimbledon? What is going on in those sports? What?
There's either the people that are like you that'll just find whatever the next sport is to try and bet on, or there's people like right now. I'm trying to, Bree and I are going to start Breaking Bad at some point. I'm trying to catch up on all the TV that I've missed over the last month and a half because there was...
the third 20
2 months.
Years.
2 months, actually. Yeah, I can't even... It's been a whirlwind. And we made it through playoffs. We made it through Celebration Week. We talked all about that. Go back and listen to our post-parade episode where we're still attempting to catch back up on all the news that we didn't actually mention when the Avalanche were in the midst of their run. But hey, this is the far end of the bench. You guys are here, episode 99. We are one away from triple digits.
Next week is triple digits.
Be sure, follow at FUOTB Pod, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll put together, it was a long holiday weekend, so I'm putting together that video of all the stuff that we had from the parade. That'll be coming out here on Thursday on the YouTube channel, so subscribe there and follow wherever you're listening to podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating and review because we got a ton of stuff that will be coming. We have a new segment that we introduced on last Friday's episodes.
And I have not seen Jimmy's yet, so I don't know what it is.
It's going to be
coming in blind.
It's going to be something. It's been talked about on some of the shows that we are mutual, like we both follow some of the podcasts, but they haven't actually tiered them. They were just like brought it up in passing. So we're going to do start bench cut of vacation destinations, and this will be fun for you because I think you've been on all three. I've only been on 2 of the 3, so we'll figure that out. That's coming up towards the end of the show. But we got sports to kick off with, and we're starting things off with...
Is college football dead, Jimmy?
College football,
Is it dead?
I wouldn't say
or is it thriving? Are we dead or are we thriving?
It depends on the generation that you're living in. Because if you're living in the generation of us, even, we're on the tail end of it, but like our dads, when they saw this news break, probably... that generation of sports fan is probably thinking like, what the hell? What is going on? But then you got to think about, put it all in perspective. We're talking about the college football moving around and everything like that. It was mentioned a little bit in passing last season. Obviously, at the end of last football season, we had Oklahoma and Texas announce they were going to the SEC. More movement happened. And in all reality, is it going to change the way that we watch college football? Not a ton. There's still, you're going to have conference play and everything like that. Even with these new leagues, I still think we're going to see the same top 4, top 8 teams. It won't change who's going to be up. Honestly, it might change some of these programs that have moved, but let's go ahead. USC, UCLA announced last week that they're intending to move to the Big Ten, not in the 22 season, but in the 23 season is when that's going to take place.
And let's point this out too. Is this all football or is this everything? I haven't heard any qualifications. Obviously, all of this movement is because of football. Yeah. There's no doubt about that, but I'm not sure if it's everything. Yeah, I'm not sure.
As of now, I think the only schools that have declared they wanted to move from the conference that they were in to a new conference are teams that would have the requisite, because what Niko's referencing is the Title IX, where you have to have as many male and female sports on campus. So USC and UCLA, I want to say, are 2 schools. They already didn't have wrestling, so they don't have to add or drop anything. And I'm pretty sure with Oklahoma and Texas, they were saying that all of their sports are moving. It's not going to be Big 12 for them in anything. So I think as of now, all the schools that are moving are schools that would have the right amount of sports for the conference that they're moving to. But what this kind of does mean, and what everybody else is predicting now, with USC and UCLA leaving the Pac-12, Pac-12 is pretty much a dead conference.
It's
dead. As
the
makeshift,
conference of champions, it had a good run.
As makeshift as it was, now you lose two of your quote unquote blue blood programs.
And let's be honest, also, look, USC and UCLA are the money makers in the Pac-12 or 10 or whatever you want, or 8 or 4.
It's back to the Pac-10 now, so purists will be happy about
maybe
that.
the Pac-6 here in a few weeks. So when you look at the landscape of the Pac-12, all of its West Coast. You are running into a situation where USC and UCLA are going to the Big Ten. USC will be traveling to Rutgers.
Did you see the comparison of distance? It's the same amount of different distance between UCLA and Rutgers as it is to go from UCLA to Indonesia or something. You could go the opposite way and go towards the Pacific.
You could go to Hawaii in just the same amount of time.
You could run into foreign country in the same amount of distance that you'll be traveling for that game. And also, who's going to turn on UCLA versus Rutgers football right now.
Like it's funny. Like we joked about Lincoln Riley ditching the SEC, and here he is going into much colder weather.
Yeah.
And look, we talk about SEC like, oh, they can't play in the snow. Do you really think USC people, athletes, or any of those guys have ever seen snow?
Yeah.
Like think about it. Like snow in the stuff that comes from the fucking sky, not the snow that some people are thinking I'm saying. But think about it. Like USC will have to go to Michigan in fucking November. Do you think it's gonna be nice 90-degree weather? It's not.
Well,
It's not. Like it may be. You may get lucky one day. But more than likely, there's a 75% chance that the weather is going to be below 60 degrees or even below 40, and there'll be some sort of precipitation in the air, and it ain't going to be rain. No. So, look, I don't mind it. Like, good. Look, if UCLA and USC think that they're hot shit, they can go do that. I'll be all. But I still don't. Look, neither of those two programs, I still see them getting top 4.
You're talking about two programs who weren't competing in the Pac-12, which we said it, I'm pretty sure on the show. Pac-12 in football last year was the worst conference of the Power 5. Absolutely. They were absolute dead last. That was like watching FCS level football with what the Pac-12 championship.
Pac-12 only made money off football because it was Pac-12 after dark. You watch the biggest shit show in college football at midnight every single night.
Yeah, that's something that I didn't even put into perspective too. The time zone change. We talk about time zone changing affecting pro athletes. I guess the argument is made now that with the NIL and some of the money that these kids are able to make for themselves, that they're quote-unquote professional athletes. But that's still an 18 to 23-year-old kid going from Los Angeles, California to, in your example, Ann Arbor, Michigan, and that's a 2-hour time zone change, or 3-hour time zone change from California, plus the weather, plus Pac-12 never played defense. And that's all the Big Ten does, especially in November.
You're forgetting also, like, these are student athletes. I know we go that under the run, but these are student athletes. I'm serious.
We don't talk about academics.
I'm serious when I say this. I think there's a very good chance what the Big Ten does is that they have teams play USC and UCLA back-to-back weeks.
Probably.
And they have them stay in a hotel.
Yeah.
And look, that is ruining the student athlete part about it. But I would highly doubt that they are going to have a Rutgers travel to California twice in 1 year.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's not gonna be a situation where you host UCLA 1 week and then go fly out. I mean, you could do it that way, but you're not gonna be. It's almost like you have to put two away games back to back in that situation, or you get it was on a much different scale. But I can tell you, in my freshman year, we played Humboldt, California, which is as northernmost as you can get in California in D2. And that was a 5-day bus trip. We turned around the next week and had to go to South Dakota, which is a 3-day bus trip. I missed, in total, a full week of school the week before midterms and Thanksgiving break happened. And that was bad for me and wasn't even on the same scale of what these guys are doing. Remember, as much as we give UCLA and USC shit for their football programs being down and everything like that, they're still expected to compete at this level. And
that's why they brought them in. That's why. I mean, look, you talk about what the Pac-12 has been for football. We're just talking about football, obviously, right now. All the sports.
Baseball and basketball are, I guess, okay. If you want to be good at basketball.
Pac-12 is really good at basketball, but it's dead now. I mean, look, if you were the Big Ten, if you were to pick one school, who would it be?
Out of the Pac-12?
The Pac-12. There's an obvious choice for me.
I would say, if I was the Big Ten, I would either go after Utah or I would go after Oregon.
Oregon's number one. It's not even close.
And
you want to bring in money. You want to have all the Nike sponsorships in the world. A team that could get recruits from Hawaii, from wherever, Canada, you can name it. Look, USC and UCLA have pull because of their histories. There's no one that has had more pull in college football and college basketball and college sports in the Pac-12 than Oregon. That's because of all the money and all the things that they give, the facilities they have over there. So, and that's the biggest surprise here because the new rumors are Oregon, Washington, U of A, ASU,
I think
CU, and Utah are all in talks with the Big 12, which is ironic because CU just left that conference about 6 years ago. Yeah. So, but look, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. But in my opinion, when I see this, when I see all this movement, it's showing to me that the mid-level programs, like what we have in college basketball, like GCU, GCU will always have a chance to make a Cinderella run. Doesn't matter who is on their schedule because they have an automatic bid. If you're Colorado State, if you're Wyoming, your chances of ever winning a national championship probably just dropped to under 5%, unless you have a miracle run. Because if you think that a non-Power 2 or Power 3 conference is going to get in the top 4, you're going to be losing your mind. Because if we do just have 4 conferences, just say 4, ACC, Big 10, SEC, and Big 12. If we have those 4 and you're not in one of those 4, you have zero shot of getting in. And I think, look, the gap was decreasing, has been decreasing for years between lower level D1 football to D2, and it's going to get to a point where athletes, look, I'm not going to deny the fact that D1 athletes have a lot more say and a lot more things going for them than D2 athletes, but we could be a situation where if you're a top athlete, why would you not try JUCO? Why would you not try D2? If you're only getting offers from the Wyomings, the Air Forces, those small schools, why would you not go to a D2 school for a year and try to go into a bigger conference? Mm-hmm. The level of play is just I think it's outrageous.
There's not going to be many bad things that I think come from this. Obviously, if you're a Pac-12 football fan, you're kind of pissing in your pants a little bit because you're gonna lose all of your teams. But this will affect 2 things the most, and it's going to be the playoff format and it's going to be recruiting. And we know that it's going to affect recruiting just because of what we've seen with CU in our own backyard. And I go back to Nebraska too. Because for a long time when Nebraska was in the Big 12, and I listened to Will Compton and guys who played there when Nebraska was actually a football school. I mean, it's not anymore.
School.
Yeah, really, it's not even basketball or wrestling anymore. It's legit just a volleyball school. When they were good because they could recruit Texas. They could recruit Oklahoma. And when they're playing in the Big 12, Lincoln is your farthest trip, unless you're playing in some out-of-conference game. Now, in the Big 10, you're trying to recruit kids from Pennsylvania, Northeast area, Ohio. Why would they decide to go to Nebraska, play 4 games where their family's going to have to take a 3-hour-long plane ride just to see them play? Why wouldn't they stick in the Big 10 schools and go to a Penn State, Northwestern, Ohio State, Michigan, all of those schools? And now, you're still going to be able to recruit the West Coast. You're probably going to be able to recruit in Big Ten country because USC and UCLA de facto become the longest trip that your parents will have to make. But how are you going to recruit those other Midwest schools if you're USC or UCLA now? You're going to lose your Utah. You're going to lose your Colorado. All of those schools in between Big Ten country and what used to be the West Coast. All of those states are going to be looking for another. Why wouldn't I go to Texas and play in the SEC conference? It's going to be the same amount of travel now. There's really no. That was the only good part about the way that the conferences were set up geographically, is that each conference pretty much had a territory of kids that you knew you had a really good shot of pulling the best kid from the best high school. Now you're competing with legitimately everybody. But that's where it comes into play with the playoff factor. I don't know if you're aware, but in California, they basically go if you're in the classification playoffs, that means that you've been in the playoffs for at least 2 years prior to that. It's similar to the way that they set up the Super League. So you make the playoffs, you get bumped up into the Super League, and you play in the playoffs through there. And if you win the classification state title, you are quote unquote the state champions. However, all of the schools that hadn't been making the playoffs, they still qualify for their own playoff bracket, and they play, and they'll have a state championship also. But everybody knows their state championship wasn't the classification state championship. So we might see a situation where these teams that have consistently qualified in the top 8 or the college football playoff, they'll be in their own bracket. But then we're going to see something, I think, similar to a Division 1AA, where you get the full playoff bracket, and you get the one round in each different location, and somehow come to a national championship. So honestly, it could make the parity even more so in college football. I don't know, honestly. That's just a suggestion for how the playoff is.
The way I see the parity is the parity between the top 25. There's no parity between everyone else outside the top 25. Let's keep it a buck. It's the rich getting richer. It's the Michigans. It's the Ohio States, or not the Ohio State. Sorry. It's the Michigans. It's the Texas A&Ms. It's the Floridas that are trying to get up to a position where they can be back on top of the world. Because they've been middle of the SEC for a while now. You start getting new blood in there where you can beat the shit out of them. You're all of a sudden a good program again.
Yeah.
Like the only thing that gets me excited about all this is look, I love college football. I'm much more an NFL fan, but I love college basketball. And we are looking at a situation where the Big 12, and look, you can say all you want about football, Big 12 might be the greatest college basketball league or conference I've ever seen. You have Kansas, Baylor, Texas Tech, Oregon, U of A, ASU. You're talking about 6 quote-unquote blue bloods of college basketball right there. You throw in Utah, Colorado that have been into the tournament the last couple of years. I am chomping at the bits of watching all those games. It's going to be absolute mayhem. It's terrible for football. Absolutely terrible for football, but I'm loving every second of it for college basketball.
Yeah, I think the good things is that we're going to see a new format in college football for the playoff wise, and
maybe sooner than later.
Maybe we'll see some other schools kind of revamp their program. Before we move on, though, other changes that are happening. ACC is going to disband their division, so they've been having the Coastal and the Atlantic division in ACC. They're going to get rid of that, and they're just going to go top record throughout, top conference plus overall record, and the top 2 teams are going to play in the championship game there. So.
And the rumors are swirling, obviously, with all this movement is what's Clemson going to do? Because Clemson, it's not like the SEC hasn't looked over. They're like, hey, you want to come down? Because they have South Carolina in the conference.
And then you get this Clemson-South Carolina rivalry as an in-conference rivalry.
You could throw in possibly. I know the U has been dead for a few years now, but you could pull in the U. All those Florida recruits, the U versus Florida once a year. Mm-hmm. Florida State, you can pull them. Florida State versus Florida. That's where all of that is. Like the ACC is. Like looking at everything, like, oh fuck, are we next?
They're like, are we strong enough to stand up?
They're watching the Pac-12 just literally dissolve in the matter of 2 years, and they're like, oh fuck, no one's left us yet. I guess we're okay. I guess because you're literally in the middle of Big Ten / SEC country, literally dead ass in the middle. I don't know how you haven't lost Clemson or Florida State or Miami yet. You must have a president or a commissioner that obviously is a lot better than the Pac-12 commissioner. But it's like I said, I would not be surprised if Clemson leaves, Miami leaves, Florida State leaves. You can go down a list of teams that if you're a who's who of college basketball or college football in any way, you're going to the Big Ten with SEC.
Yeah, and then
and the one other thing I want to add on top of this opens the pathway for smaller schools to join the Big 12. Look, the Pac-12 may add teams like Boise, like maybe the Air Force is like it adds avenues open for other small schools to get more money.
State.
Yeah, like you could. There's ways to open it up. Your conference is going to be much far lesser than what it has been.
It's not a Power 5 anymore.
It's not the Conference of Champions.
Nope.
But you could have a little more fun, a little more teams that have been scrapping at the bottom for so long. It could be like, we're in a quote unquote Power 5, kind of, not really, but we have the Pac-12 around us, so at least there's some money behind it.
Yeah, it's similar. I think the Pac-12 now is on the same level as the Mountain West. That's the level of competition that you're going to see.
Very beneficial.
Yes,
very nice.
Other movement going on. James Madison recently, Division I AA champions, moving up. They're going to go with Marshall, Old Dominion, and Southern Miss are all moving to the Sun Belt. Madison's the only one jumping up a conference or a division. And then other changes, BYU is going to the Big 12. Charlotte is going to be in the American Conference. Cincinnati is moving to the Big 12. We knew about that. Florida Atlantic is going to the American.
UCF is going to the Big 12 also, which makes it interesting too because Oregon joins the Big 12. Here we go, Florida to Oregon, literally the opposite side of the country.
Yeah, Liberty, New Mexico State, Liberty and New Mexico State are both moving to the CUSA, and then North Texas, Rice.
New Mexico State's also leaving in college basketball too. Yeah. Those fuckers are dodging us. are dodging GCU. They know that their time's up. They don't want the smoke anymore.
You're the only person with beef with New Mexico State.
I know. I'm the only person.
You and
everyone GCU people.
You and New Mexico State are sitting in a room, and you're like, "Fuck you." He's like, "Dude, I'm the only one here. What are you talking about?" And then North Texas, Rice, UAB, all moving to the American, as well as UTSA. So Conference USA lost a few, but they also picked up a couple teams, and then the American picked up some of the better teams.
Houston's still in the American, or is it in the CUSA? That's a program that I'm very surprised is not.
They're moving to the Big 12.
Okay, I was gonna say because that's another massive college basketball program and a pretty decent, halfway decent middle of the road college football team too.
Yeah.
That's could be a big movement for. Like I said, the Big 12. As much as people are giving it shit for it, it may not be bad. Hear me out. It may not be bad.
I think Big 12 football is going to take a big step up, and just adding in the teams that they did add, which would be BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF. Those are all schools that are going to push.
And that's without including the Pac-12 teams.
Correct, and those are all teams that are going to push the bottom of your conference right now. So the Kansas football, and Kansas basketball are two different worlds right now. But Kansas football, Kansas State.
Those students just realized they had a football program.
Oh shit! Oh, man. Unless Baker Mayfield's out there grabbing his crotch at those guys, they really don't understand what's going on. Big thing that we need to take out of this: everybody should go to Bill Walton's house, check on him, make sure that he's okay. Because
the Conference of Champions, man, Rip. I'm gonna get a Conference of Champions shirt. Those things are gonna be like sound like freaking gold out here, man. It's poor Bill Walton. What's he gonna do? Like go to the Big Ten and announce them? That's no fun. No. That would make the games more. Imagine Bill Walton.
Bill Walton should not be on my TV screen before 9 o'clock.
An Ohio State versus Michigan college basketball game announced by Bill Walton.
And it's gonna take place when the sun is still out, or the sun is just going down now, and Bill Walton's gonna be tripping his balls off
halfway through the acid, not full out.
Oh man.